house of worship. Okay? We're going to look at the Temple of Solomon. Again, when you look it up on the phones, it comes out very well. Okay? So from this point onward, divine worship at the earliest shrines went into decline. Okay? So the shrines which they had were the theophanies. So now God has chosen to dwell in the temple in Jerusalem. So these other places basically declined in importance. So this was true both of the shrines associated with the patriarchs and those that had been set up by various Israelite tribes in the time of the judges. So the first to disappear were those located in Judea. Historical circumstances such as the invasion and the destruction of the northern kingdom by the Assyrians were later responsible for the disappearance of the rest. So the northern kingdom was attacked by the Assyrians around 700 BC. And then the southern kingdom of Judah was attacked by them in 587 BC. So where the Assyrians attacked first, the shrines basically disappeared. And eventually the southern tribes, the two tribes when they were attacked, so also the other places, fell into, basically, they disappeared completely. So after the return from Babylon, that was around 538 BC. So the exile, the Babylonian captivity or exile began in 587 BC. And it took like 40 years. So around 538 BC, they came back, they returned. But remember when they returned, there was no temple. Because the Temple of Solomon had been destroyed by the Babylonians. Okay? So the Assyrians attacked the northern kingdom. Then years later, the Babylonians attacked the southern kingdom. At that time, the kingdom was divided into the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. Okay? So that's what we said, that after the return from Babylon, it was established that the temple of Jerusalem should be the only place where the Jews offered divine worship. Now this is a very significant time. You know the feuds between the Jews and Samaritans. So basically when the Assyrians came and attacked the northern kingdom, the Assyrians were extremely brutal people. So what they would do, like for example, if they want to scare Las Vegas from rebellion, so they would come from Utah, go through Las Vegas without touching anybody. They wouldn't kill anybody in Las Vegas. Then they would go, let's say to, what other city down here?
Boulder City.
Let's say, let's say Boulder City is rebelling against the Assyrians. So they would go through Las Vegas very peacefully in their battle lines. They would go to Boulder City, chop heads off. Wow. Everybody they could get their hands on. They chop their heads off. Then they come back in their battle lines, each soldier carrying 2 human heads in their hands. And then they go back to Utah through Las Vegas without doing anything. So that is terror tactic. Yeah. So Las Vegas wouldn't revolt. Yeah. Because they know what is going to happen. So those were the Assyrians. And then what they would do, they would take people from other places and basically repopulate Boulder City. Now they would leave a few stupid people who can't rebel there. Okay? So that's what they did to the area around Samaria and Samaria. So they took many people out, and then they left the peasants, who didn't have anything to do with the revolt. They left them there, and then brought foreigners from other lands to repopulate that area. And then those foreigners intermarried with the Jews who stayed there. As always is the case when people move, they go to a new area, there is always intermarriage. Okay? And so the Jews always called the Samaritans, the product of that intermarriage between foreigners brought in by the Babylonians and the Assyrians and the Jews, as basically not pure Jews. Okay, they are contaminated. And so they didn't have anything to do with them. Contaminated people. Okay? We are pure, not pure. Okay? So that was the idea. So, after the Babylonian captivity, the Samaritans wanted to make peace with the Jews. And so they wanted to participate in the reconstruction of the temple. So the Jews said, no, you are contaminated. Okay? So you will also contaminate our temple. Stay over there. So from then on, the break basically became definitive. That's why you see in the Gospel of John, when Jesus basically encounters the Samaritan woman at the well, she's asking him all these questions. Okay? You Jews, you say this, you worship on that mountain, you worship over here. Okay? Why are you asking me, a Jew, for a drink? Because of that, there was a definitive break. So the Samaritans only believed in the law of Moses, the first 5 books, the Pentateuch. They didn't believe in the prophets or these Psalms or whatever, okay, because they were not written by Moses. So that's again why you hear Jesus tell the Samaritan woman, you people worship we don't know. Okay? We worship what we know. Salvation comes from the Jews. Okay, meaning that we have the full scriptures. You don't, you Samaritans. Okay? So those are the feuds that went on between Jews and Samaritans. But the definitive break came after the exile, when they wanted to participate in the building of the temple. They told them no. So that's why the Samaritans refused to go to Jerusalem. They would only worship on their mountain called Gerizim in Samaria. Okay? So the Samaritan woman says, we worship on this mountain, Gerizim, and you worship on that mountain, Jerusalem. Jesus says, time is coming when we no longer worship on that mountain or the other mountain, but worshiping God in spirit and in truth. Okay? Meaning the very person of Jesus Christ, who is now the mountain and the temple of God. Okay? So those are some of the events, surrounding what we are looking at here. So thus, in the Old Testament, divine worship centers mainly on the tabernacle in the early period and later on the temple. Have you pulled up that's the temple, the tabernacle? That's the temple. Yes. If you have a smartphone, pull it up, the tabernacle. Okay? So that when we discuss it, you can see exactly what it looks like. Okay? So, the tabernacle, what was it? Tabernacle means basically tent. It's a tent. Tabernacle. Tent of dwelling. Okay? So the original tabernacle was a special tent where God frequently manifested himself by descending in a pillar of cloud. We see that in Exodus 33 and Numbers 12. For this reason, the tent itself symbolized the presence of God in the midst of his people. God chooses to dwell with his people, therefore there must be a proper place of his presence. That is very important, okay? A proper place. The proper place of his presence. Because he's present with us. So he chooses to dwell in space and time with us. Okay, so Moses frequently went into this tent. Went into this tent to speak to God face to face, as we hear in those texts. In Exodus 33, Numbers 12. And to act as mediator between God and his chosen people. Okay, the mediation. Now when you read the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible, it's always very important to know that they are very complex. So you don't go to those books and just read like you read a novel. It is very complex. There needs to be profound study. So like here you talk about the mediation of Moses. When you look at the Pentateuch, that mediation comes from a particular tradition. It doesn't come from the priestly tradition. The priestly tradition is what gave us this comes from the priestly tradition, not from the Yahwistic tradition. When you read the Yahwistic tradition, there is no mediation. Okay? There's no mediation. That's why some of the traditions, they don't even talk about angels. Okay? So there's no mediation. So that's why in the priestly tradition, when you follow it, okay, you will not really hear them talk about things like like angels or something talking to God, because you need the mediation of a priest. Okay? So whenever you see that mediation, then you know that that's a priestly account. Where there is no, whatever, when you hear about angels and some other things, then you know it's not the priestly tradition. It's another tradition. So it's very complex. It needs someone to study it, to trace the traditions, and in order to bring everything together. Okay? And it's a redacted text. Taking different strands, bringing them together. The reductors, because there was a theology God wanted them to convey, and some of the material they simply cut it out. So sometimes when you read the Pentateuch, you read a text and you say, well, where did this come from? It's like something just boom appears there without explanation, without the background, because the reductors simply wrote different traditions together, and there was a message that was to be conveyed, and they used it for that particular purpose. That's why you have, for example, tablets, okay, 2 accounts of creation. How many times did God create? He did it once, but why do we have 2 accounts? Okay, because you have different traditions. When you read the account of the ark, Noah's ark, okay, you think that it flows like from one tradition, but no. There are 2 conflated traditions. Okay? And 2 sets of basically traditions reporting, okay, to different things. When you look at the account of Joseph being sold to the Egyptians, okay? Who sold him? Who of the sons of Jacob wanted to save him?
His brothers.
But who?
No.
So when you read the account, there are 2 brothers wanting to save him. 2 names. Okay? And when you read it critically, you see that they are not coming from the same tradition. Okay? So it's very complex. It requires basically biblical study, okay, background to comprehend what is going on there. Okay? But, okay, so Moses here was mediator. So sacrifices were offered in the enclosure around the tent. Again, in some of the other traditions which are not priestly, we don't hear about sacrifice. Okay? It's mostly in the Christian tradition that's where you hear sacrifice, because you have a priest who is going to offer sacrifice. So the tabernacle consisted of the tent and an elaborate courtyard around it. So the tent, do you have it? The tent is that big thing there inside. So this is a courtyard, okay, surrounding the tent and then a big enclosure. Okay. So the courtyard was rectangular, surrounded. You see that here it's very dark, but you can at least see. It was a. You have it? Yes. Yes, more, yes, similar to that. Okay. So the courtyard was rectangular, surrounded by wooden posts or bronze vessels, like a fence. Linen curtains were hung right around this, meaning around the fence. Inside the court, between the entrance and the tabernacle, okay, the entrance to the tent and the tabernacle was positioned the altar of Holocaust. So you can see right here. In our dark picture you can't see it very well, but on the phone you can see it right well. Okay? So you have a tent here and the fence here, and between those 2 there is an altar there. Yeah, this one right here. Okay? Yes, yeah, right here, the altar of Holocaust. Okay? So that is a very important thing. The altar of Holocaust. On this, the carcasses of sacrificial animals were burned. So you sacrifice an animal, you're offering it to God, so you burnt it from the altar of Holocaust. So that is a very significant thing, because later on the priest is going to become the altar upon which the sacrifice is offered to God. You see where we are coming from? Okay? So, and beside it, right there, beside it, stood a large laver or basin for ablutions. Okay? So priests were required to wash their hands and feet in the basin before ascending to the altar to perform the sacrifice and before entering the sanctuary. This symbolized the cleanliness and holiness of body and soul needed for engaging in divine worship. That's why you have the obligation to pray for your priests. So today you see, before the liturgy of the Eucharist, the priest goes on the side of the altar and washes his hands. What does he say? Before ascending to the altar of Holocaust, you have to be clean, you have to be pure. So Lord, wash away all my iniquities and cleanse me from all my sins. Lord, wash away all my iniquities and cleanse me from my sins. That's supposed to be a quiet prayer, but some priests say it loud. So sometimes a priest prays for the people during the liturgy, sometimes he prays for himself. So the rubrics tell you this is quiet prayer. Okay? Because you're praying for yourself. Okay? So Lord, wash away all my iniquities and cleanse me from all my sins. One time I was listening to Patrick Madrid's show, that show, and a girl called in. She said, okay, Patrick, I have a problem. I said, well, I hear priests talk about, sins and iniquities. Okay? So I go and confess my sins, okay? But I want to know what the iniquities are, because I don't want to go around with these iniquities I didn't confess. It's so funny. So the girl thought she had iniquities, She didn't know what they were, iniquities. Okay. I'm going to go to God with my iniquities. So tell me what they are. It's the same thing, sin and iniquities. Okay? Bad things, iniquities. Okay, so just to think about this. They were ascending to the altar of Holocaust to offer animals to God, but animals cannot take away the sin of humans. But these were types and images of the true sacrifice to God. So if these people, priests, who were simply images of the priesthood of the New Testament, did all these things to appear before God clean, how much more is the priest of the New Covenant required to do, to be clean, including all of us. Because all of us share in the sacrifice of Jesus Christ by our baptism, our baptismal priesthood. So it's not by accident that always Mass begins with a Confidio. I confess to thee, Almighty God. Because we are ascending to the altar of God, and we must be clean. That's why if I'm consciously aware of a mortal sin, I have to confess it. Because mortal sins are not forgiven at Mass, only venial sins are taken away. Okay, so that's basically the importance. That's how seriously these people too worship. Okay? They haven't even entered the tabernacle yet, but ascending to the altar of Holocaust. So the tabernacle, in the strictest sense, the Mishkan, that's how we call it, was an area covered by a tent. So the tent itself, inside that rectangular thing, is the tabernacle. That tent, that protruding thing right there. that is the tent. Rectangular in form, made of rich materials and highly adorned. Why the adornment? Highly adorned with the choicest, costly materials you could ever find.
God's house.
By the way, if you know of anybody who has money, here in our parish, we need a monstrance for our chapel here. We have one which is very old and the host, falls and do whatever. So we need a monstrance. A new monstrance.
How much are mine? Hold up.
Let me show you. Let me show you what we need. David, you have the keys? The monstrance. One time I was teaching kids having a seminar. I said the monstrance. The kid was like, you know what they heard? Monster. They heard a monster.
Monster.
This is what it is. But this is very old and it can't hold Jesus in the right way. Okay? So it's all whatever.
Supposed to be taken out.
And we need the Luna, okay? Correct Luna that can go in. So if
So what's a nice monsters cost these days?
I think they are. David, can you look it up?
Ballpark.
Look it up.
All right.
Yeah, but it's no, they are expensive.
Yeah.
Sounds beautiful.
Yes. So this is what a monstrance is. We do use for adoration.
How do you spell that?
Eucharistic adoration. It's like
Like I could remember
She might be our
Thank you. Adoration. So the question is, the adornment has to be adorned the tent. We're basically meaning of the church. Okay? The house of worship must be adorned. Why?
Because God dwells there.
God dwells there. Because the mystery must be surrounded by ritual. Okay? Rites and rituals. Why? Because ritual or rites and rituals are the language of mystery, which propels the human into the realm of the divine. So if you strip the mystery bare and you take away rites and rituals, then the mystery doesn't speak to you and you don't speak. You can't reciprocate. You can't talk the mystery. That's why the churches must be adorned. There must be that sense of awe. Yes, like when you go to St. Peter's or other churches in Rome and whatever, when you enter the church, there's a sense of awe. Some of our churches here, it's like walking in Walmart or Smith.
No.
Some of our churches, you don't feel like in a church because they have removed all the statues, everything. Okay, the rites and rituals, the signs, the language of mystery has been stripped. The mystery is stripped bare.
Absolutely.
And so you have no language in which the mystery can speak to you or you can speak to the mystery. Yes. So the mystery speaks.
When I open the tabernacle, I feel like peace coming out of it. And before I do the
Yeah, yes, again, there is so much, it's good that you mentioned that. We'll talk about that later, okay? There is, today, there is an unholy familiarity with the tabernacle. Anybody can go in there anytime and do, that's not how it's supposed to be. The tabernacle is the place for the priest.
Yeah.
Okay? We will talk about that later. But it's the priest telling people, I'm not going there. Okay. So, the tabernacle in the Greek sense, the Mishkan, was an area covered by a tent with tent-like form, made of rich materials and highly adorned. It was entered on the eastern facing side, okay, through a curtain. This is again very significant. Enter the tent from the east side. Why? Why the east? Psalm 91. Christ the rising sun. That's why many of our churches before, whatever, were facing east. Because Christ the rising sun is coming to meet his people, to lead them to God. That's why the priest faced east. Okay? So why? Because the entire cosmos is liturgical. God is the creator of everything. So creation itself gives glory to God. Creation worships God. Daniel chapter 3, because book of Daniel chapter 3 beginning with verse 57 or 51, 57. All creation praises, gives thanks to God. See? All creation gives material glory to God. Okay. So, the liturgy from the ancient times has been understood as an element of the whole of creation. Okay. Because God is the creator, and all creation must give glory to God. So, the ancients understood this so well. And so the orientation of the churches facing east wasn't something crazy. Pope Benedict explains it so well in his book, The Spirit of the Liturgy. Okay? It's meant that the whole of creation, Romans chapter 8, all creation is groaning for redemption. All creation. Okay? So the entire cosmos is oriented in that direction of liturgy of worship. Okay, so you see again that orientation there. Even today, I think, I don't know how Jews do this, but Muslims, they face east when they pray. Again, coming from that. How did it, when did it come around? Why did it change? Because people were told by naive reformers, even some of them were just evil people, okay, that the priest was facing the wall, so now he should start facing the people. It was never understood that. The priest never faced the wall. The priest was facing east. That's why there was the altar, the cross, and the Christ facing east. Why? Because we are on an exodus from Egypt to Canaan. And so the priest leads the people on this exodus to heaven. Okay? As Christ leads us to the Father. So it's an exodus. So never hear people say, oh, the priest was facing the wall. That is foolish. Okay? It was so how did it turn around? The way it turned around, it started in Rome. St. Peter's, because of the topology of Rome, when it was built, it didn't face east. Okay? Because of the topology of the area. So, the priest celebrating the liturgy had to face east. So when in St. Peter's, the priest faced east, seemingly he was facing the people. But in actual fact, the priest was facing east. But now the people were not facing east, they were facing the people. That's how it started changing. Then other churches in Rome started copying that. And that's how it happened. Yeah, but again, it can be understood in the liturgical sense that Christ is the altar. And so the priest and the people are facing the altar. So the priest is not facing the people, in essence, when we celebrate the liturgy, especially at the liturgy of the Eucharist. The liturgy of the word is interactive, so the priest faces the people as he preaches to them. But the liturgy of the Eucharist, the priest and the people are centering on the altar. When there is a German fake so-called theologian, I think he's a theologian, who was trying to challenge Pope Benedict. Remember, the importance of Pope Benedict is this, that the man has dedicated his life to explaining the mysteries of the faith for almost how many years? Before you were born. For almost 60 years. At the Second Vatican Council, he was a young theologian who helped with basically, arranging some of the documents. Okay, so he is so solid. And when you study his readings, they don't proceed, his writings, the books. You see that it doesn't proceed from mere intellectualism. He's an intellectual, super intellectual. But when you study his writings, the way he explains the faith, you recognize that it proceeds from a deep holiness. The man is holy. Not just mere intellectualism that he's explaining things, the man is holy. So that's why his writings are very, very important. So one theologian, so-called theologian from Germany, because he's German, was challenging him on this, that because the priest has to face the people, okay, because he has to see that's the image of God. And I love Pope Benedict, he's quick in thinking. So he said, well, I don't think you think that that's a serious argument. Because you know, as I know, that the image of God is not photographic. That right? Yes. It was so good. Okay, so we have to keep that in mind again, that we are facing the cross, the altar of sacrifice. So that's the essence again of everything. So, within a richly embroidered veil, within the tent, inside the tent, a richly embroidered veil divided it in two, hanging between the holy place, Kodesh, and the Holy of Holies, Kodesh Kodashim. Okay? So there was the holy place and the Holy of Holies. So within the tent, there were two places, divided by a richly embroidered curtain. It was a very heavy curtain. That is the same curtain, okay, when Solomon and subsequently the second and third temple, there was again that heavy curtain which divided again what you can call the holy place and the Holy of Holies. So you hear in the Gospels, when Jesus died, the curtain was torn in two. That's what we are talking about. It started there in the tent of meeting. Okay? So we're going to look at that in detail when we get to the temple. So, the holy place, okay, listen to this. The holy place, what was in the holy place? This is, you enter through a curtain, then in the entrance was a curtain, then you enter, when you enter the tent, where you enter is the holy place. And then you are looking at that heavy curtain, and behind the curtain was the Holy of Holies, okay? The holy place and the Holy of Holies. Okay? So the holy place contained the altar of the bread of presence. So there was an altar. So outside you have the altar of Holocaust. And then when you enter the tent in the holy place, you have the altar of the bread of presence. Okay, that is again very significant. The loaves of proposition or bread of presence were a grain offering of a special kind. The Hebrew description means loaves of peace. Okay, do you get the connections there now?
Yes.
Okay, the loaves of presence, right? And then grain offering of a special kind. And then the description meaning loaves of peace. Okay? Okay, so all loaves of presentation. Because they were presented, all designed to remain permanently in the presence of Yahweh. So they were there, the loaves of presence, they were there permanently. How many were they? 12, representing the 12 tribes. Okay. So they were 12 in number, symbolizing the 12 tribes of Israel, and were placed in 2 rows on a table of pure gold. Okay. The table of pure gold. They were replaced each Sabbath by fresh loaves and eaten by the priests, nobody else. Okay, priests. See? Priests want it all for themselves. So only priests were allowed to eat them because they had been offered to God. Now you hear in the text we cite here, Matthew 12:3 following, when the Hebrews were the Pharisees were criticizing Jesus, that is, people don't fast or they do whatever. Then he told them the story in the Old Testament where David was hungry with his men. They entered the temple and ate these loaves of presence, which were only to be eaten by men for the priests. So those are the loaves of presence. So this weekly offering of the new shoe bread was a symbol of the renewal of Israel's covenant with God. So a person can ask, why do we have to go to Sunday, every Sunday? Why do we have to attend Mass every Sunday? Why can't I do it once a week, rather once a month, or once a year, as some do? Because our faith in God must be renewed. There's something when they collected manna in the desert, they were told not to collect, to keep it overnight. Collect all you can eat. Why? Because you must trust God that tomorrow He will provide. So you renew your faith in God, that God is going to provide. Today, there was on Immaculate Heart Radio, a woman who called in that she has been trying things. And oftentimes her financial basically, dealings end in nothing. And then she asked, why does God want me to depend so much on Him? The reason is simple. Why does God want me to depend so much on Him? Who else do you want to depend on? Yes, but renewing that trust. Okay. So the altar of so that's one. Okay. So renewal of Israel's covenant with God. Exodus 25. The altar of incense. That's another thing. Another altar that was in the holy place. The altar of incense. Every morning and evening, aromatic substances were burned here, that's here, not her, burned here in honor of God. Remember Zechariah, who entered the temple, and then he came out not talking or whatever, he had gone in to offer that sacrifice of incense. So priests used to go in the holy place to do that. So, the incense, what is this incense? Why do they have to have this incense going? The altar of incense. Incense is biblically the
there's also something that changes your perception of what's there.
we can talk about the rituals and rites, the language of mystery. Okay? So basically, incense it has so many images. It's the smoke. It's the cloud. It's song. But the real biblical thing is that the prayer of the faithful rise up to God. So the prayer of the church is rising up to God. Okay? So that's the symbolism. So our prayers are going up. Okay? So, and they're being acceptable. Sweet smelling, basically whatever, going to God. Sweet smelling sacrifice. Unfortunately, some of our incense today is not sweet smelling.
Sir, Father, is that for you? When we stand up and the priest goes with the incense like this towards us, that is offering our prayers or?
Remember that through him, with him, and in him. He is the only acceptable sacrifice to the Father, Jesus Christ. But you and I, by way of invitation through faith, okay, the obedience of faith, through him, with him, and in him, we to become sacrifices pleasing to the Father. Okay? So that's everything going. And also the other, there's so many levels of symbolism. The other thing is that when we pray as the body of Jesus Christ, God the Father doesn't hear our individual voices. All our voices echo a single voice, the voice of His Son. So when we pray in faith, God hears the voice of the Son. So our voices echo the voice of Christ. If the prayer is true prayer, the prayer of faith, and the voice of Christ echoes the voice of His church. Okay? So that's the prayer of the church rising up to God. It is essentially primarily the prayer of Christ, which is our prayer by invitation through faith. So rectangular in shape, this altar, we're looking at the altar of incense, was made of acacia wood covered in gold, with a golden rim to prevent perfume or embers spilling off it. This also had 4 horns. What are horns? And you hear in the book of Revelation, the beast had horns. Oh, whatever horns. What is the symbolism of a horn, biblically?
Something that carries
Power.
okay.
Power is the symbol. Each on one at each corner of the table, and a golden 7-branched lampstand. What is that? A golden 7-branched lampstand provided with oil. This was made of pure gold. It had a base in the form of a cup on which the shaft stood, and from the shaft 6 branches stemmed, 3 on each side, rising to the same height as the center shaft. At the end of each branch was a cup of hammered work, in which oil was burned night and day before God. So you see again in our altar, in our churches, you have 6 candles before the altar. Okay, it's supposed to be 6. In some churches it's not. When we get all that, people fight, no, there has to be 2, not 6, whatever. Okay? You know where you get it from. The Holy of Holies was empty. So, what was in the holy place? In the holy place we have the altar of
Bread.
on what? On the altar of presence. Okay? So on that altar you had the bread of presence. And then in the holy place you had another altar, which is the altar of incense. Okay? So those are the 2 things to remember: the bread of presence and the incense in the holy place.
Father, what's the significance of the number 7? 12 tribes, but what?
7 is also plenitude, fullness. 7 sacraments. 7. So in the Hebrew understanding, 3 is totality. 7 is plenitude. 12 is plenitude. Okay? That kind of thing.
Thank you.
Remember that in the Hebrew language, okay, and in some other ancient languages, consonants again have also correspond with numerals. So we call it Hebrew numerology. For example, a good example, when you read in the book of Revelation, and you hear the beast. The beast, okay? This beast had a number, okay? And its number is, the number is, so people are afraid of that number, 666. Okay? But in Hebrew numerology, when you look at these numbers, what they represent, it equals. The number is when you add, like for us, that's what you said is very important.
Okay.
When we approach scripture without that Hebrew understanding, then it means something else. But here in the Hebrew numerology, so when you add the numerals, they correspond to consonants, okay? Real consonants, and the consonants are. And you know who he is? You know Nero?
Yeah.
Was the emperor who was doing around that time who killed the Christians.
That's why in Revelations, he's
Nero.
the beast.
Okay? Yes. So that's how it works. The numerals correspond to yes.
So those are
So when you in Hebrew they call it numerology. So you can use numerals to mean something, but someone who is not well versed in it doesn't know what you're talking about. So because there was a persecution, they had to use coded language, which the persecutors wouldn't understand.
because they couldn't say the word.
You couldn't say Nero. Okay? Or they would say Babylon is going to fall. But Babylon had fallen centuries ago. They talked about the harlot, okay, Babylon. They talked about Rome in the book of Revelation. Because there was no city called Babylon there. It was no more. So it had to be coded language. So numerals mean something. Okay. So that's why it's very important always to remember to know something about the Hebrew language. Like you talked about in numerology, three. Three can also go in the language itself. For example, why do we say holy, holy, holy? Why don't we just say holy? Why do we waste time? Holy, holy, holy. Just say holy. No.
Holy, holy, or holiest.
Because in Hebrew there is no superlative, no
That's the way.
good, better.
So the way you would use say best, they don't have that. So you have to say it 3 times. Good is holy, better is holy, holy, best is holy, holy, holy. So the 3, okay? So again, I've seen priests who omit that, even in the Confidio. Okay? When we say 3 times again, Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy. There's reason why we say it 3 times. In some priests omit it, they will say, Lord have mercy, let us pray. There is reason why we say it. Okay. Now, the Holy of Holies was empty except for the Ark of the Covenant. Okay. This was a rectangular box made of wood overlaid with pure gold inside and out. Its 4 lower corners had rings of gold. Wooden stakes overlaid with gold were positioned in these rings, ready for transport.